Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is the first video of week number 3. I hope you're all doing well. As you may have noticed, there were no remaining videos of week number 2 of the hiking season. That is because I was ill, but I did play those games, so I'm gonna quickly show you how that went. I'm also hiding my elo and my total season points right now because that would give away how I played in this video, because I am actually narrating over this entire video afterwards. But quick recap, week number 1, we only won 11 moving games, only 3 no moving games, and a very sad 2 no moving panorama zooming games. And week number 2, a lot better. 13 moving games, 4 no move games, and 3 NMPZ games. So I'm very happy with that. But let's stop talking. Let's get right into the duels. All 15 games are in this, but I cut them down to some of my best and worst guesses. So I hope you'll enjoy the video. Okay, so here we go. Game number 1, Enpo, 1.1k rated opponent. Somewhere in Chile, water to our east. And I find this sign pretty soon. It says Maoyin, Mapu. And I go to check out these street signs, and top sign says Maoyin again. So it felt pretty much like Puerto Montt to me. So look in the area, and pretty soon there's Maoyin. I said my guess. And a few seconds later, they sent their guess as well, and it was actually in Mapu. I didn't see it. It was a place a bit further south. Skip a few rounds, round number 4. Here we have, I immediately thought Galicia. I check out the sign again, seems good. I travel a bit, see this pole top, or at least the pole, to confirm that it's somewhere in that region probably. I also thought it might be somewhere out east, but it felt much more like Galicia to me. And there's the confirmation. And yeah, this narrating after playing the games, of course, takes a bit more time. It takes a lot more time because I've edited the video down, but I kind of enjoy it as well. But I won't be doing it anytime soon. I think I'll just, narrating over the games is so much easier, or at least for your focus, playing the game is easier, but without narrating over it. But this is fine as well. Okay, this round we're somewhere in Sweden, double damage, and I actually went back to check the replay, and somewhere at the start it immediately said Ørnskoldsvik, so that was just a skill issue from me. Always trying to get off the mark way too soon instead of just looking around. Like on this round, we're somewhere in Eswatini. We had a big mountain, so I'm scanning for a mountain to the northwest, whereas we still have quite some built-up areas where we are. So I check out this mountain near Mbabane. I just send it, and we were actually a bit further southeast, but they send in South Africa, so that's a really good round. 3,000 damage. They've got 1300 health left. This time we are in South Africa with the Generation 2 camera. And I find the sign, it says Daar. And I don't know what I was thinking, because if I just sent straight away, I probably would have won this game on this round. But I keep moving, get to this intersection, I find another sign. It seems like some kind of football team, also again from Daar. But yeah, still it didn't click until I found that sign, and then I found the place name. It's in the middle of South Africa. And even then I didn't immediately send. I went around the corner here just to confirm with those place names since they were there. And it says Bridgetown in Uppington. So that was confirmation. I sent my guess. A few seconds later, I think they sent as well, and they were there too. So maybe if on that first sign it just immediately clicked for me, I would have won that game. But round number 10, quadruple damage. And we're entering what seems like Argentina right away. And it's very foggy, so if you've had this round before, you probably know where it is. But we don't have any info at the start. I had north first. There was absolutely no kilometer marker. South, no marker either. So they sent their guess. I tried to line up the road a bit. Couldn't really find anything. I already lined it up before as well. But I just sent somewhere outside of Rosario, and it was Buenos Aires on a very short stretch that actually kind of bends like that. They were in Uruguay, so again, we don't win the round on that game. And then there's this round, round number 11, 4.5 times damage. double yellow or double white center lines and of course South African signs. Immediately feels super coastal to me. I'm thinking like Richards Bay or Durban. But I keep moving because there are some signs. And we find this kilometer marker. It says R75, but I gotta keep moving up ahead because there are some bigger signs as well. Hopefully some kind of place name or something. No phone code. And that's just the name of the river. I check out the other sign as well, but it's just the same name. So I start looking for the R75 and I find the R74 there. But after about 20 seconds of scanning, I found the 71, 73, 74 and the 76, but no sign of the 75. So I keep moving, try to see if there's still a little clue I can find somewhere. 4 seconds left. I just sent somewhere outside of Durban. But the 75 was outside of Port Elizabeth, Caberha. And we lose game number 1 on that round, basically. Played pretty decently, but just like that, we lose the first game. We lose 29 elo as well. I'm pretty livid at this moment, and I head straight into another game and skipped straight to round number 2 because round 1 was just something simple. Round number 2 now, we're somewhere in Australia, and we've got what I thought were, I think, Victoria poles. And we just head down the road. I look at this pole top and it feels more like a NSW pole. I'm trying to see if I can read anything off of the signs. Looking at the landscape, I decide to just stick with my first gut, go Victoria. It's pretty mountainous in the distance. I sent in a national park. It's not going to be there. It feels a bit more coastal. It turns out it was much further down. It was very coastal. But they luckily sent somewhere in NSW, so pretty good damage on the first or second round that was. Round number 3, we're in Russia somewhere, and we don't have a blurred antenna. We're driving north, so this immediately kind of raised question marks because it doesn't feel like the road that is heading through Aktash, I think, this one, because that road the car does drive north the entire time, but it's not mountainous enough and we don't really have a body of water to the east. So scan some other roads and I'm slowly getting closer to Irkutsk. And I start scanning there in a second. So my opponent sends first and I'm still near Abakan, but now I start looking near Irkutsk. Not really too mountainous, hilly. If I maybe had scanned up the river, I could have found it, but I sent down south and it's north of Bratsk in Sedanovo. Coverage that I haven't really checked. I've mapped a few roads of Russia just to see what car we have and what direction we're driving in, but that is not an area that I covered for myself. We're on to 2 times multiplier now, and we're somewhere in Brazil. I tried to look at these signs to see if there are any, well, place names that I know or phone codes. But place names in Brazil kind of look similar, and I find them the similar ones pretty difficult to remember where they are. So I start moving down the road. I try to see if there are any other clues. I found this sign, like Itakatia, I don't know how to pronounce it. It just sounds like a lot of the other Brazilian place names. So I keep moving, looking for the kilometer marker that maybe has a road number on it. But our opponent already sends. And looking at the landscape, it's pretty hilly and we're actually pretty high up. So I thought maybe we're somewhere in Sao Paulo, like on the edge of the hills. But it turns out we were just in Rio Grande do Sul, and that was an amazing guess by my opponent as well. I looked at the replay and they looked at the same brown sign that I saw, and somehow they just instantly knew it was RGDS. But now we're on 3 times multiplier and we're somewhere in Quebec. We've got French. Trying to see if this sign has any info, but it's not really anything useful here. Everything in Quebec kind of looks similar to me when we're urban. So I head to this intersection and trying to see if there are any road numbers, and here is one. It's a 204 East. We also have a place in there, Ville de Saint-Pamphile. So I start looking for the 204 and for the place name. Somehow I missed the 204 here. I zoom in even further and I just miss it. It's on the right of the screen. So I check down south first, but then I head up and there I find it. Just quickly send. It's not really useful to line something like this up. Run down the clock. Don't ask me why I didn't cut out this part and leave the clock running, but they send pretty soon. Quebec City. So we do a decent amount of damage there. And we're kind of hanging on 1300 health left, and they're on 4300, so we really gotta do something here. Round number 9 I was kind of liking because this is Argentina, Gen 3. Not that I know the Gen 4 cars or anything, but it immediately struck me like Mendoza. It's kind of around where you'd expect vineyards next to the mountains. So start looking for clues, and it's not really anything in here, but I keep moving. And I'm pretty sure that I cut some part out here, or at least I hope so. Not really anything useful there. But we're like right on the mountains, and they're not like the huge snow-capped mountains that you'd see anywhere, well, like the main parts of the Andes. So I was immediately thinking maybe we're somewhere slightly north of Mendoza. And I think we have some fruit trees or something as well. I don't know if they're olive trees, if you even get those in Argentina, but we had those growing on the side there. So just decide to head down this main road in the hopes that we get the actual place name on a sign somewhere, or directions to some other big places. We reach this intersection and here's a sign. It says, once it loads, it says Anillaco. Bienvenidos a Anillaco. We have a cactus, or we have multiple cacti there as well. So that made me think maybe we're not even in Mendoza. Maybe we're even further north. And here we get, I see the word provincial in the bottom left. So I'm trying to see if I can see any province name or anything. Taking into consideration the cacti, I searched La Rioja and right away there's Anillaco. And we're pretty, well, right on the mountains. So I decided to line it up. And I'm looking for this interesting intersection. I think that was the triangular intersection we had. And there's the 5-way roundabout. So I send it 3.5 times multiplier. Hopefully they send somewhere very far away and we win the game here. Which is clearly possible because my first thought was Mendoza. But they don't go Mendoza. But still, 2700 damage. And now we're on 4.5 times multiplier. We have an Iowa license plate there. We're in the US. Iowa, of course, big enough to make us win or lose this game. So I'm trying to look for a town name. Quickly looking at all the signs, whether there's anything. Make sure to check another plate. And it's also an Iowa plate. We've got no place names, so I decide to just send in the middle. And they sent Cedar Rapids. And that's back-to-back losses against 1.1 rated K rated opponents. So we're 0 for 2, but I can guarantee you that that is the worst performance that you're gonna see in this entire episode. No spoilers yet, but we're picking up from here. We're at 1483 elo. Game number 3, we're up against AI generated brain. As you can see, I wasn't ready. This was recorded later on the day. But it's time to lock in. So here we go. Bolivia, not too hard, just outside of Potosi. And I'm not going to show every round like I've been doing in the first 2 games, where I showed a few more rounds. But it's going to be more like this one, round number 2. See a sign. It's Lithuania. I'm not going to bother looking for information, so I just send somewhere. And then I skip to the part where they guess. And somehow that round felt to me like the last round against Blinky did. I don't know if it's like a little bit more overcast, and that's again why it's near Klaipeda, but probably just fake ideas that I have. Next round, Qatar with a short antenna. So it was probably going to be somewhere further north. We had coast to the east, so it's actually interesting that it was on the northwest of the country. Round number 4, German signs and mountains in the distance. So immediately thinking somewhere south. I think we moved about 20 seconds in this round. I found some signs, but not anything that I could use that well. So take a bit of damage. That was round number 4, and now we're heading into the multis. 1.5 times damage, and it's Indonesia. Got the long bar there. The long bar there. So we're somewhere in Nusa's. It says Nusa Tenggara, which also encompasses Timor. I've learned. It was just the main island. Double damage now. And we seem to be in Argentina again. Another round with very little info. So at a certain point I just decided to send somewhere in the middle of the country. See if any roads line up, but I wouldn't have changed my guess anyway. Just south of Cordoba there. Very little damage. Moving on a bit further, triple damage. We're back in Argentina. We're somewhere south. I looked at that place in Zapala, and I feel like I've heard of it before. And to confirm that thought, we're on the 40. But for some reason I start looking south first. Probably because my guess was that it was going to be a bit further north. So I always like to rule out the opposite first. Because I'm probably going to send in this area anyway. There's Zapala, and it was, I don't know, 113 kilometers away, 105, don't remember what it said. Line of the road. This lines up pretty well. Now we're just going to find that ACW 5K. And it's not that, so I keep moving down. And that's the road. So we send 5K from AI generated brain as well. Pretty good player. Nothing in that round. And this Kenya round I've actually let in pretty, I don't know how to say it, explicitly or something. It was such a nice looking round. Like these hills kind of felt like the kind of hills that you would see in Colombia. So it's a good one for me to remember the next time, because I instantly start looking out west here at some of the higher mountains, because we were pretty far up. And I look to the west and I kind of line up something, but turns out in the end that we were much closer to well, south of Nakuru. It was probably going to be very difficult to actually find any info on signs there that you could also use to pinpoint. Then this round, 4 times multiplier, we're in Botswana, it's very sandy, so then normally I would instantly send Maun here, but I saw that we had signs close, and I tried to read the sign and it says visitors to Kutse Game Reserve. Kutse Game Reserve, I remember that I sent, or I don't remember if I sent South Africa, but there was another, this one, it was Kasane Forest Reserve for something that I found on the sign, and I just had to find this, so I kept scanning Gaborone, and then in the middle, there it is. It's very big. Kutse Game Reserve. So it's a very deceiving round, which looks a lot like Maun. And I click on Kutse, even though, well, now I click on the white roads, because I know there's just no coverage out there. But still, for some reason, I couldn't find it, and I gave up. And I thought, for the meme, let's just click Kutse. Who knows, maybe there is some kind of coverage that I did miss. Not that I know the exact paths that coverage has in Botswana. Well, now, in hindsight I do, because I checked it. But it was just down south. And I actually could have picked up about 1100 damage more there. But it's a very, very good chunk of damage, 3500. And we're on to round 11, and the multipliers are getting very high. Luckily we're in my home country. So maybe with very little info I can still do something here. And AI generated brain sent pretty quickly and I had nothing. So I thought flatlands, kind of wet, let's just send where it kind of always is, but this turned out to be all the way up north, and it was an amazing guess by them. They also didn't really find any info. I think it was just that there were like dark brick houses and not a lot of, well, density. And now this round, Bangladesh, look at that. I instantly recognized that that says Mymensingh. I've been practicing my Bengali, and just being able to recognize a place name like that very soon or very quickly can be a real advantage. Unfortunately for us, AI-generated brain plonks very close. Don't know if they found that place name on the same sign or on a different sign, or that it was just a very good guess. I mean, copyright is a big thing nowadays as well. And this round, 5.5 times damage. Look around, immediately looks like Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, something like it. We're at the Museum of Clean. A very interesting name. I head down the road. I try to look at these murals, see if there's any place names on there. Maybe even a state name to confirm. Then I saw this one. There was a lot of text on this one, and I see the street signs and I see the place name, Best Dinner Theater in Pocatelli. So I head down the road. I'm trying to get to some more info, but then I find this truck and I thought maybe I should look at a license plate. It was an Idaho license plate, and then Pocatello was very easy to find. We send 15 seconds on the clock. Don't know if I cut down these seconds. It appears I didn't. And when zooming in, I even saw the Museum of Clean, but again, lining up, taking those 3 seconds could be vital to have them miss it. But they sent very close. I actually sent them a question mark because, not in any kind of suspicious way, but it was just kind of weird how they sent right outside of Pocatello, which if you found the place, you probably would have sent right in the town center. But it turns out it was just a very lucky plonk from them in the end. And now 6 times damage, Australia. We're somewhere in NSW. We had a yellow plate. Feels like NSW. Just somewhere, well, slightly east of the center. Head down this road. As you can see, this is probably taken about a minute. And I find Marsden resting area. Nothing useful. But then I just head the other way for 10 seconds. We pass a bridge and I see some signs over there, and I'm like, I hope they didn't go this way. If they did, they probably would have 5k'd this already. And there's a huge sign here, West Wyalong, very easy to find, north of Wagga Wagga on the A39. I zoom in, or first I line up the road. I zoom in, and very quickly I see Marsden. So just send blindly, again, not pinpointing, because these few seconds that I save pinpointing, those are probably going to be very vital. And they were. AI generated brains since Northern Vic, and we basically get the 5k. And that's our first win. So only the third game is the one that we win. We're back above 1500 elo, and it only gets better from here. We go straight into game number 4. Another 1.5k rated opponent, starting off in Japan. I don't know why I went back to the start. I don't know if I cut it out or something, but I did look at this plate, and it's a Kyushu plate. So we just send in the middle. Take a quick look at his stats. They look pretty decent, so I'm gonna have to bring my A game. Round number 2, Blue Gen 4 car. It's pretty flat. Instantly send Hungary. They do too. No point in wasting time on these rounds. Now we head into round number 3, and this is more interesting because this is Russia, and it's a very interesting landscape, and we have both Russian and just Latin script. Check the other sign just to be sure. Also says Chupa. We have a black car, long antenna. Well, it's probably going to be Karelia then if we have Latin script. So I immediately start scanning for the place name, and right up there we see Chupa. Big intersection. Pretty quick 5k. And they weren't sure, and it turns out they sent all the way east. We get the 5k, 4600 damage in round number 3. That is a good way to start against a 1.5k opponent. Then round number 4, no multipliers yet. Immediately looks like Norway. We have the long road lines on the side. We have 5 stripes on the zebra crossings. And we have these orange signs. 45 kilometers to goal. And we have the E16, Fagernes, Hønefoss. E16, pretty easy to find. Hønefoss is right there. I see goal, so I just plonk my guess on the road that leads to goal, and we were in Baggen. Do a bit more damage. We haven't really taken any damage ourselves. Onto the multipliers, we could maybe even win the game here. But big clue, on the truck it says Kildare. Kildare, don't know how they pronounce it in Ireland. But the round looks very Irish. I start scanning for Kildare, and right there, it's pretty close to Dublin. Pretty easy find. But it turns out we were, of course, trucks move. We weren't in Kildare. We were somewhere else. Now round number 6, double damage. Immediately looks like Sweden. We're on some kind of bridge. But then this happens. I look at the car and it almost seems white and the round isn't loading for me. Get a black screen. Wi-Fi trying to make me lose my games again. So I refresh the game and they sent. I have 6 seconds left. NMPZ. I just plonk in Sweden. I hope. And it turns out it was Sweden. I think it was Uppsala. Or I don't think Gävle starts there already. So somehow we were still closer. 2.5 times damage. And we are in Thailand. And this round, I mean, looking at the round, it just looks east, but I saw 4063 there, and I've made this mistake so many times. So the 40, or the roads that start with a 4, they're in the south. I was looking around and I thought, this can never be south. Unless it's like all the way on the Malaysian border and there are no palms there. So I just sent in the water and 2.5 times damage. Luckily it wasn't more, because otherwise we would have lost. On a 3.5 times multiplier we would have lost, but that was a very bad guess for me. Luckily we stay in, triple damage. We've got a very typical Turkish road. I find the road number there, 300. I immediately start looking for it. I'm pretty sure it's one that runs west to east, and there it is. Right outside Elazig. I'm trying to line something up, but not really finding anything that fits, and they get a really good guess there. They got a pretty quick and pretty good guess in. So now we're only 500 health ahead of them. 3.5 times a multiplier in Kyrgyzstan is probably not going to be the decider. We have the southern mirror, and I just check whether it's dirty or not. It feels like it could be dirty. We've got this statue here, and I decide to head to the main road. There's a sign right here, and it says Karakulja. Karakulja. And I recognize it. So I think this is Ushen. Click on the first intersection, or it didn't. That lines up pretty well close to the river. So I send it, 15 seconds go by, they send Talas, and it actually wins us the game. So we lose the first 2 games, but we immediately come back with 2 wins. Another 18 points, 15-19 elo now. And this is interesting. Game number 5, we're up against Biquet. I checked afterwards, Biquet was, I think, 10 out of 10 at this point. We won the first 10 moving games. I see this landscape, Botswana, very dry, orange soil. Immediately click northeast. Just check that southern road, whether it could be there, but it was this eastern pocket, and I clicked south of the yellow road. Doesn't matter too much, we still do more than 500 damage. Road number 2, we're in some kind of town square in Spain. Looking very Spanish, Spanish language. Head out to the main road. I see a sign up in the distance, and I'm pretty sure there is almost always a national road number. The N234. I know the N232 is out east on the coast, so I immediately zoom into it. There it is. Now it's just a matter of finding the N234, which happens to be south of it. It's actually also the A23, I think. It feels pretty coastal, so I start looking around this area. There's Viver, and Herica is actually written with an X in Valencian, I think it still is. Unless we were already outside of the province. But we both get the 5k. Biquet, of course, a bit nicer of a 5k than I did. Round number 3 now, we're in Greece, we're on a beautiful lake. I tried to see if Statmos means anything, but I see these signs, Agrigno, from the last episode. On the main island, let's call it, on the west, and it's 40 kilometers to the south. So that only makes sense that we're north of it. So I see Vonitsa and I think I'll just send it. Looking at the landscape, in hindsight, didn't really fit, but I probably wouldn't have found this either. Anfilochia. So 3 rounds in, still flawless against Biquet, but then comes this round. We've got this kind of cobblestone-esque road. Somewhere in the Ukraine, I see Perechin, but I can't seem to find where it is. It didn't feel like Lviv to me, so I clicked outside of it, and it was Uzhhorod. And I looked at the replay, and like almost right where we started, there was a huge map on the side of a building, and it said Uzhhorod. And yeah, I somehow missed that. Next up, we've got Denmark, Braadstrup on the wall. I'm scanning for it, can't find it. 1 second to go, there it is. A very quick 5k from Biquet once again. Luckily we only take 3 points damage. It's Denmark after all, so it wouldn't have been too bad anyway. Round number 7, this was a big round. I load in, I saw the scooter, I thought, is this the Philippines or something? No, it was Mexico. We're driving on the right, it says Ayuntamiento de San Lorenzo, don't know what that is. But we've got octagonal poles. I decide to head past these murals, or well, whatever you call it, and I see the phone code 951. And this, I thought, how is this Oaxaca? How is this ever Oaxaca? But I decided to send it. First I tried to look for San Lorenzo, just to be sure. But I send it 951, Oaxaca, learning Mexican phone codes pays off, 2.5 times multiplier. It was pretty small, but 4,000 damage in round number 7. Triple damage, not the most interesting round, but I left it in because we basically both 5k'd. Wasn't that hard either. That sign that you can see up there says Hamamet, and we're just somewhere on the A1. So we're both playing pretty well. It's just that Mexico round that kind of decided the point differential at the moment. 3.5 times damage, and this is my worst fear. Indonesia on high multipliers. At least we have tiled roofs, so we're somewhere in Java. Try to look. I see that wall. And this ambulance actually says Lamongan. So now I'm trying to figure out whether we're in East Java or Central Java. We have asymmetric poles. And I see this roof. And that was the confirmation for me that we're east. Lamongan, pretty big. Up north, I just insta-send. Not gonna bother finding the bridge, but Biquet does. Great 5k. 144 points, not too bothered. But a very nice find by Biquet again. Very, very precise player. French players, they've got an insane amount of skill. We're on 4 times multiplier. We have painted poles, black sticker as well with telephone at the bottom. It's kind of hilly, but also pretty sandy. So made sense that it was near the coast. I sent somewhere in the mountains of Johor, but not too bad either. Round number 11. Again, not the most interesting round, but 2 5Ks coming up. We're somewhere in Slovenia on a highway. Got the Slovenian signs here. There were some place names in the distance, and then it was just a matter of lining up the bridge. So another 2 5Ks from us, and at this point it's just waiting until a big country comes, and then either of us could win. And that is exactly what happens in round number 12. We are somewhere in California. Right off the bat, I thought California, New Mexico, or I should say California, Arizona border. We have a place named Landers, and I'm at a fire station, and I don't even notice that it actually said San Bernardino on it. But I immediately go and scan because we're very east to west, and we've got kind of cacti and weird trees, so I immediately start looking east of these mountains. And then for some reason I also start scanning up here. But as soon as I reach Fresno, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. It's very green here. Don't have those mountains to the east. So scan back down south. I'm like, probably somewhere near Victoriaville. or Victorville it's called. Scan down to the Mexican border as well, and there I look up to the fire station, see San Bernardino. So we're somewhere close to San Bernardino, and that is a place name I think we had 2 or 3 episodes ago. It's still very east to west, so only a few roads make sense. Mesa Verde, don't see anything there, just make sure I'm still in California. I zoom into this road, but it doesn't fit. This one fits pretty nice, and look at that, there's Landers. Just making sure it was to the north, so I send down south on the main road. Very, very nice find. 377 meters, I think we were 2 roads down. That wins us the game, so that's a very, very big win. 3 out of 5 now, another 17 points. And we're up against another French player, this time 1.1k rated. So we had 3 1.5k rated opponents in a row, I think, and we won all 3 of those. So somehow I am stealing from the rich, but giving to the poor. I think that's also what I'm gonna, basically what I'm gonna name the video title at this point. I see these kind of interesting mountains that you see all around Peru. I sent pretty far south, even though, yeah, I mean, maybe it could have worked for Ayacucho, but it was just right outside of Lima. Lima Hedge always works. Round number 2 back in the US. We've got this sign, Goose Bay, probably somewhere close to the coast then. Feels very much like New England to me. So I just decided to send it at some point because there were very few cars and very few signs. I sent Southern Connecticut. Maybe it doesn't really fit for the landscape too much, but I didn't have a much better guess, and I was trying to hedge the southern parts that it could be. And it turns out it was just, I think that's Maryland. Welcome. So that's an interesting ACW log to remember as well. Round number 3, this one's pretty funny. We've got the single yellow or single white road line in the middle. We've got the blue car with the antenna. We've got hills. Immediately feels like Bulgaria to me. I turn the corner and there are Hungarian bollards. So I send them a small, but luckily they make the same mistake as we do. We're all the way up north, the border between Hungary and Slovakia. But a very, very insignificant round that. But now round number 4, black car again, another Argentina round in the middle of what seems to be nowhere. We head to the sign, turn around, and it says La Pedrera and Via Mercedes. Via Mercedes, I always need to find it somewhere in the middle of the country. And after a few seconds, there it is. I figure we're somewhere northwest of it, 12 kilometers away. That is a bit too urban, but I leave my marker there and it's pretty decent. They go Buenos Aires. And once again, 12 kilometers, pretty difficult for me to estimate. But we do good damage. We're onto 1.5 times multiplier now, back in Russia. And this was a pretty difficult round. We have a blurred antenna. I'm very bad with the short antenna in Russia. Head to this car, steering wheel's on the left. And there were just no signs here at all. So at a certain point my opponent guesses. I look at the tree line in the distance. We have these short shrubs on the side of the road. Even some fireweed, I think. And I thought those were birches in the distance. But then what fits like this? I just hedge Nizhny. And they go Arkhangelsk. Luckily I knew that Arkhangelsk is Gen 4 only. Yoshka Ola road. And that's a pretty easy road to remember. Has an interesting angle and interesting look to it as well. So maybe for the next time. Onto double multiplier now, and we're somewhere in Turkey again with signs Yenis and Çanakkale on the D555. So the 555 is north to south, I think. There it is, and there's Yenis. And basically now I was deciding, are we north of it in Chan or are we south of it in Balya? I looked at the town, didn't seem too big. Zoom into Balya, seemed okay to me. And of course it was Chan. But in the end, doesn't matter. 2 times multiplier enough to win us this game. 4 out of 6. So we've got 9 more games to go and a potential 9 more games to win. Back up against a high rated opponent, 1.4k from Japan. We've got this black solid line in the middle. which I didn't even notice, I think, on this round, but it immediately felt like California. We also had the California reflectors on the wooden pole. We basically sand in the same area. We were right there in San Antonio Valley. So not a very interesting round one. Round number two, a lot more interesting. We've got yellow backplates. We're somewhere in Colombia. It's very, very dry. And in the distance you can see mountains. That taxi, can I remember what it said? It said Agua Chica. I think I've heard of it before, but at this moment in time I couldn't find it. So I just take a look at how close to the mountains we are. I'm like, okay, there's only a few areas that you can be on such a flat surface, but still that close to the mountains. So I start scanning along the Andes here. And there's Agua Chica. Accidental 5k. Gives us 1 point of damage. But again, a very quick and very nice find by the opponent. Round number 4 now. I skipped round number 3. Don't remember what it was. If I left it out, it wasn't that interesting. Bor in Malaysia. Beautiful placement of the sign there behind the palm, so that none of the info could be read. I think this is the point where our opponent sends, and I find the sign. It says Kuantan Pahang, one of the major cities or bigger cities in Malaysia. And I actually also said Sungai Panching, I think it was the place name. So I could have potentially 5k'd it. Doesn't matter in the end. 2.5 times damage. Very interesting round this. We've got open fields with very short and thin trees. But the main thing here is the striped car. We've got a white car with a blue strip. And that's the car that's driving towards Happy Valley Goose Bay, I think it's called. That it is. But we're actually east of it. So yeah, both of us on the road, but on the wrong side of Happy Valley Goose Bay. But still a very nice 420 damage. On to triple multiplier now. Big Chilean flag there. Immediately feels, well, a bit further south in Chile. So my opponent instantly sends. But I decide to look at this sign and I see Moncul S. So I immediately go south around this area. There are the S roads. I don't have the number. I can't find Moncul. But that is a very, very good amount of damage. 2937. So taking the time there, taking those 15 seconds that they gave me to find some information really paid off in the end there. Now we're on 4.5 times multiplier in Kenya, and this felt south to me. I sent south on the wrong road, but on 4.5 times multiplier, that's going to be enough. So we're 5 for 7. 5 wins out of the last 5. 8 more games to go, basically halfway, and I'm pretty sure we're actually up in ELO now because we beat 4 1.5 or 1.4k opponents. And we're up against the GU, and we start off in the beautiful country of Russia again. A country that we've had a few rounds in right now. Blurred antenna, somewhere flat on plains. I don't know. I zoom into Ulyanovsk, decide not to do it, just send in Penta. I don't know, it felt like a bit of a better hedge to me, and it was Ulyanovsk. Should have stuck with it. Again, I don't know the antennas, so maybe it didn't make sense for Penta and it could have only been Ulyanovsk there. But it doesn't matter, we head on to round number 2 and we're in the beautiful country of Russia, Gen 4. And this instantly feels a bit further north. I decide to look at the houses, and they feel like the houses that you see in Murmansk or Arkhangelsk. Of course, no mountains here. I decide to go southeastern Arkhangelsk, but we were northeastern. Still a very, very good round for us. Let's head into round number 3. And this is interesting. Looks like the beautiful country of Russia. We're on the road. No signs. Steering wheel's on the left. That holds no info. Performaishkoi. Doesn't tell me anything. Again, short antenna. This time it isn't blurred, so maybe that could have been a clue. But I just couldn't get any information from this round. And then I noticed the big sign there. Maybe if I headed that direction, I could have instantly done something. And it was Novosibirsk. That could have been the... we could have won the game there. But they could have dealt a lot of damage to us there as well. So it's a good thing we We had 3 Russia rounds and we were, I'd say I did fairly okay. Here, Malaysia, we find a sign, Betong Sarawak, and of course the amount of Malaysia State Street practice that I did about a year ago, it pays off knowing place names. Although they also sent Sarawak, so not too bad there. Round number 5, onto multipliers. Generation 2, France, it seemed pretty sad, pretty bad weather. I just sent somewhere out here near the coast. And then I move. And then it's suddenly beautiful beige walls and houses. I smile. I thought it was probably going to be a lot further south. Luckily for us, it was still in the north, and they actually sent England. So once again, the quick send paying off, although that wasn't the best guess from me. Round number 6, double damage. Not a very good round either. It says Trabajamos poquito. So we're in Ecuador, in the capital. We have some suburb or smaller town names. Yaraqui, I saw it pop up there. Yaraqui pops up back again. Checa and El Quinche. But Yaraqui is on the bend here, so I just send on any off-road. And they send Mexico City. So that is another game won. We're 6 for 8. I put it up in the top right, both for me and I think it adds to the video slightly. So we're on to game number 9. 027 phone code. That is somewhere south in New Zealand. 03 is Christchurch. I decide to head down, see if I can find a quick place name somewhere. Because maybe it's Dunedin, maybe it's Invercargill, but there it says Oamaru. And that is right there in Otago on the coast. And that even says Dunedin, but luckily it is Oamaru, and they sent on the coast of Victoria or New South Wales. I missed it, but that's a very good start, 3500 damage. Skipping round number 2, onto round number 3. This, well, in hindsight, it immediately looks like the US to me, but here I felt like it was Portugal, but then I noticed we're not on a, we're on a dirt road, and we had a US bollard. So I sent somewhere in northern Cali, and I was actually in the middle of Arizona. Luckily, they for some reason were in Canada, and we're just in the place name of Pine and deal quite a bit of damage. Here a nice little no moving, bienvenidos a Mojo. We have a lake here, and it's to our southwest. So I zoom in, I find Mojo, and on double damage, if they don't manage to find it, it's probably game. With 400 health left, the clock runs down there in the north, and we take game number 9 as well. So we're 6 for 9 now, or 7 for 9 even. It's a good thing I put it up there, because I'm starting to lose track myself. Up to 1556 elo 2. This was a this is a round that I was very happy with. We've got the Antioquia paint, so I zoom into Antioquia. I check this part whether it could be there, but we don't have mountains to the west. Just to make sure, also checking the road there. But then I notice this road, and we're somewhere near the river. I don't even know if I noticed the road, but somehow I got the white road. That was a pretty cool guess. I can promise you that that wasn't a repeat in the slightest. I've never had a round there, but yeah, made me happy that I got that. And then this, again, place name knowledge. It says Bali. Bali, still don't know how to pronounce it, but that wasn't fair. And it's 124 kilometers to the north. We had the place name in the final round against... Ooh, I don't remember who it was. But it was a pretty decent player, and we won on that. So it's to our north, 124 kilometers, and I'm so bad at lining up roads in Russia for some reason. I checked this, but it doesn't line up. And at this point, I'm just screaming at my monitor. Just the only white road that's leading up to Bali. Just click on the main road. Just click on the yellow road down south near Smolensk. But my great there, last second I noticed. But somehow in the moment I was still panicking, and the 124 kilometers was yet again very difficult for me to estimate. Double damage now, Generation 2, red brick houses, very narrow road with hedgerows. Immediately felt like Eastern UK to me. So I send there, they send the Netherlands. We do another 1748 of damage. They're below 1000 health and we're on to 4.5 times multi still. That is not good. So 4.5 times multi, I mean, they're 1.1k rated. They're still going to be very good at the game, of course. But that's scary territory because Thailand being 1000 points further away is going to be game. But I find a 074 phone code. Already felt south, but that just confirms the general area. And we win that game too. So now we're 8 for 10. So I lost the first 2 games against 1.1k rated opponents. And now I'm 8 for 10. And I'm thinking if I can just continue this streak, it actually won't be too bad. 13 out of 15 I'll take. I still should be doing 14. But 13 is better than 10. So this round, a very beautiful Kenya round. Close to Mombasa on the coast. Didn't actually know that the yellow road got that hilly around there. But that's a good one for the next time. Generation 2, we're on some kind of bay to the south. And this kind of coverage I've seen quite a bit in southern Australia. I zoom into the southernmost point of the Eyre Peninsula and somehow that didn't cross my mind. But we're right there. So we actually take 700 damage. Round number 7, 2.5 times multiplier. In Japan. I've got a lot of bamboo. See this plate with the yellow arrow. And I think that's Okayama only. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I don't even plonk in Okayama. It was Okayama. But still, they're in Tohoku, I think, just about. So we deal a very nice amount of damage there. Round number 8, triple damage. Very quick round. Symmetric pole, square, plate on the pole, top. I don't know what it's called. So that immediately means Bali. And they send Sulawesi. So that is game number 11. Only took 8 rounds. We are now 9 wins out of 11. I'll say that sentence in that way. And we're slowly climbing up in Elo as well. Up against another 1.1k opponent. And we are back in nooses. Long support beam, support bar. Moving for some reason not too great, so I just decided to send East Nusa. Black car as well, so it, I mean, can be West Nusa, I'm pretty sure. I think West Nusa is white car, Sumba is black car, and then Eastern East Nusa is black car. Probably not exclusive, but that is what I found from just plonking on those islands. Then on the multiplier, we've got front plates, we've got rear plates that seem to be white with black text. So I'm thinking Texas, it feels very, very border-like. And we have Spanish names, we've got the Spanish language. And I see the sign and it says Brownsville, Matamoros. Place name knowledge in Mexico. And the US, of course, puts us right in Brownsville. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm just talking about place name knowledge and now I don't even know if it's Brownsville or Brownville. I think it's Brownsville. Anyway, we're on X2 multiplier. We're somewhere back in Denmark again. In a slightly hilly-ish town. Decide to head to this square and look at that. It says Holstebro. Again, place name knowledge coming in handy. Insta-send. And that picks us up a few more points. Almost 1,000 points there. And now we're heading on to round number 7. 2.5 times damage. And this was a pretty nice round. Not too difficult. Somewhere in Portugal. And to Chaves, España to the north. So I figure we're probably there. Quick send. They actually sent pretty close for saying in the wrong country. Only taking 1,400 damage there. But now triple damage and it looks like we're back in Indonesia. Feels kind of like the last round. I checked that sign, or like that round we had against Big Cat on the bridge. I checked that sign again. We have Eastern Java roofs. And I look at this poster and in the bottom right it says Kediri. Zoom in and it's pretty big. the timer run down, and they're in Western Java. We weren't actually in Kadiri, but we were very close. But it's at least enough to win that game. 10 out of 12. Just 3 more games to go, and we can actually get to 13 wins. Up to 1565 ELO. Back to where we were a short while ago. Up against Tommy. We're in the US. Again, feels northeastern. Look at this truck. And it has a fully green plate. That's a Vermont plate. And we were all the way down south in Vermont. Just about on the border there with Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Skipping round number 2, not too interesting. Round number 3 though, Iceland. I mean, it's not the most interesting either, but we find some signs fairly close at the start. The 931 is there. Take a look. It does curve. I've kind of got an off-road on the curve as well. So I line up the road. And for some reason, I'm looking down the 931. I think I was looking for the 96 because that was also on the sign. But I figured it's probably just the 95 that it's pointing to. And we're probably just at that hotel, which it turned out to be. So we almost deal 1000 damage there in Iceland without multipliers. We head straight into round number 4, which is a quick one as well. I look at that 10 and it says Liberec. Liberec town in the north of Czechia. So I send right in the middle. They go in the middle of Czechia. So that's another nice 344 points. Onto the multipliers, 1.5 times damage. Well, we've got solid white lines on the outside of the road, and it's like a 1 car width road as well. So I figure that it's probably Po Valley, or that's probably Italy, and hence, therefore, it is Po Valley if it's that flat. And then we're back in Russia, double damage this time, kind of scary. We have a tilted antenna, so that immediately kind of puts you in Leningrad. I looked the sign just to find a place name. I tried to line up a road, check the antenna again, and I give up. I just said north of St. Petersburg. And where did it actually turn out to be? Well, I know, but I don't want to spoil it already. It was in Karelia. So, as far as I'm aware, the tilted antenna is now also in Karelia. It probably wasn't exclusive to Leningrad in the first place, but that is what it was in my mind. We're back in Bangladesh, 3 times damage, and I look at this and I try to make out this place name. I've only got 8 seconds left, and then I figure Dinajpur. 3 times multiplier, I send it, and it's good. It's very good. We win the game on that. So we've had 2 Bangladesh rounds, and I've kind of got the city both times, of course, by reading. But being Dutch, I have no reason to be able to read Bengali. But luckily GeoGuessr makes you acquire such traits. Just like reading Cyrillic, which is kind of essential at a certain point as well. We're up against Abyss India. I don't know how I should pronounce their names. Starting off in Brazil, we've got the 33 phone code. I don't remember where the 33 is, but we're somewhere in the hills. So I send out east. And this French player is actually a player that for some reason I always have quite a bit of difficulty against. For some reason they're always really good. Although they're always 1.2k rated. And I mean, I looked at the replays, they're just apparently very good at knowing places and such. They insta-send here. This was a repeat for them, I figured from the replay. And I had to design in Gen 1, and that just looked like George Washington's head to me. So just to be sure, I sent somewhere on the border in case it wasn't. But it wasn't going to matter anyway if it turned out to be Wyoming or Utah. But it was Washington, so all good. Round number 3, back in the USA again. Got the speed limit sign. I head to this mall kind of area. I see a rear plate there. It looks like a Pennsylvania plate, and we don't have front plates on a lot of cars, so fits. We've got another Pennsylvania plate there. I was also checking Michigan because there were a lot of like white plates which seem to have blue text, but those could have been Ohio plates as well. And at a certain point I did find a place name, but I decided to just send on the border just to be sure. I even zoomed into Pittsburgh, but as you'll see in just a moment, the place name that I was looking for, which was Nerona Heights, didn't show up at the zoom level. So we deal our first bit of damage. Now comes round number 5, and this is a round that started to make me worry. We're in Mangakino, somewhere in New Zealand. First of all, I thought North Island. We've got quite a lot of vegetation, looks very nice. We're on some pretty small body of water, so I kind of start checking out these smaller lakes. Even look up north if anything could fit, but it didn't really, nothing really struck out to me. So we're leaving Mangakino, and I just take a look around, and yeah, I just had to hedge in case it was all the way south. So that's what I do. I send in the middle there because we did have some bodies of water, but Abyssinia found it, and they deal 1500 damage, or almost 1700 damage on round number 5. So that's a very, very good round for them. Then this round, 2.5 times multiplier. We're somewhere in South Africa. Phone codes are not useful here. And then about 15 seconds into the round, I'm pretty sure they send their guess. I'm still looking around, looking for road numbers or any clue that I can use. This round actually took longer than I thought. I find the sign here. They sent their guess after about 20 seconds, I guess. And I've got nothing. So I head down the other way. Maybe there's a road number here, and there's a blue sign on the right. And I can't read it in time. That's probably what they found. And it was north. Very nice guess from them. On the R33. The more I keep getting those roads wrong, the more I'm starting to remember them. Triple damage. We're in a very urban area. Immediately strikes me like Germany. I've got German signs, German architecture, St. Marien, Braugasthaus. No useful information there. So keep heading down this road, and there is a bus here. It says Naumburg, and it also has a postcode 06618. And those are very learnable, probably, or at least the first digit. But anyway, that says Naumburg Saale between brackets, and Saale is, I think, the other place name for Halle. Correct me if I'm wrong. Could even be like the region name. I'm not too sure. But I recognized that it was close to Leipzig, and I send right away. 3 times multiplier, remember. So it could be good damage. They send, I guess, close to Kassel, and it's actually 1200 damage. So that's a very good round number 8. And now round number 9, 3.5 times multiplier. We're heading into Poland. Siemens. Poland, of course, pretty difficult to region guess unless you have big mountains to the south or water to the north. But again, I've been to Poland quite recently, only 3 months back. So I've traveled, and I actually drove through a very, very large part of the country. Starting in Poznan, I look at these forests and I look at the hills there to the north, and they're actually pretty rolling and pretty barren. So I just send it outside of Poznan, and 3.5 times multiplier, that's going to be quite a good amount of damage, 1484. So yeah, I try not to middle guess Poland anymore, because I try to use the real life knowledge that I now have. And I mean, having been somewhere really does help. But quickly on to the next round, 4 times multiplier. We've got round poles, really feels like Rio de Janeiro to me. 21 phone code, so I immediately send it. And here I am, just moving. 4 times damage, 21 phone code. It's Rio de Janeiro. It feels like Rio de Janeiro. And only here I noticed that I sent Sao Paulo. And I could have lost if they did send Rio de Janeiro. So I got very, very fortunate there that they actually didn't find it. So with a bit of luck, we're 12 and 14. And we're up against Abyssinia. I actually waited about 2 minutes, but we still managed to face them. Route 439 in Japan. And I find the 87 code there in the end. So I feel like it's going to be Shikoku, and the 439 is right there. Very good start. I don't know the exact phone codes in Japan, but I know them more or less. 9s are on Kyushu, so hence why I sent Shikoku. Round number 3, really good round from Abyssinia. It immediately felt coastal to me, so I'm going again from Richards Bay all the way south on this coast. And I tell myself here, don't forget to check that pocket north of Richards Bay. But here I am, scanning more and more inland until I reach Johannesburg, and I don't even have enough time to move my marker. And it was right there on the R22. I found a lot of 20 roads near Pretoria, but of course didn't make sense for the landscape. Next round, we're in the Philippines. Find a sign, province of Zambales, municipality of Castillejos. And it's right there. So that's another round, pretty decent find. They are somewhere near, I don't remember what the island is called. Come again, I don't know. It's probably another one. Round number 5, 1.5 times damage. We're in Peru, double yellow lines in the middle, Peruvian pole on the right. Beautiful sign there as well. Bienvenidos a Puerto Lomas. Feels coastal with these sandy hills, and there it says Nazca. That's pretty easy to find. And right there, Puerto de Lomas. White road, we're probably on the yellow road with the off-road there. And they sent Moquegua. So that's another very good round for us. 1730 damage. Heading on to round number 6, double damage now. Again, double yellow road lines. They wave to me. Of course, I wave back. And this is Argentina. We've got a beautiful sign here. It says Catamarca, 249 Frias via La Punta. And with enough scanning, we find it. And they actually found Termas de Rio Hondo, which was on the blue sign at the start, which is even more impressive, as they didn't actually head to the green sign. Next up, we've got Colombia, and we are on the 25 BL, actually, I think. We're somewhere up north, so I start looking for off-roads of the 25. And I can't find it, so I keep moving. There's Malagana. So I start scanning for the road name along the 25. Anywhere, but still, once I've reached Antioquia and I'm near Medellin, still haven't found it. And then there's that sign, Cartagena to the west. And then that all makes sense. We're here. Malagana is there. And we were on the 25 BL, but it didn't really show up. You have to zoom in very, very far to find that off-road of the 25. But we get close, and on 3.5 times a multiplier, this could be very good for us. And they're actually pretty far south. So that is 5k from us, 1708 points, 599 health left, quadruple damage now. Round number 10, and I'm crying because it's Indonesia. But I noticed that roof, and it's steeply slanted and then less steeply slanted. So I'm immediately thinking southern Sulawesi. I don't know if they are found in other parts of Sulawesi as well, but as far as I know, they are definitely in southern Sulawesi. So I'm still trying to look for confirmation. There's another roof. I see more wooden fences, so I send southern Sulawesi. And on 4 times multiplier, they send South Sumatra, and that's going to be game number 15. We go 13 out of 15. So that's going to be the end of this video. As you can see, we went 13 out of 15 duels, and the rating's currently at 1579. So thank you guys very much for watching this video. We'll be back soon with the no moving and NMPZ duels, probably in one video as well. I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.